Portable TV. Come watch with me. All right, the tit-for-tat games are ramping up against China after the U.S. and EU slapped sanctions on the country Monday, with China slapping back sanctions on the EU. This after a tense two-day meeting with the U.S. and China in Alaska. RT's Farron Franzak shows us how these back-and-forth games could be a foreshadowing of how China will respond to the rest of the global powers.
There's been a lot of focus on some of the public theatrics or, more dramatic public piece. But I can assure you from talking to our national security team that it was a substantive meeting.
Less than a week after a tense meeting in Alaska between the United States and China, sparks continue to fly.
They covered a range of issues from our concerns about human rights abuses to aggression in Hong Kong, Taiwan, our concerns there, our concerns about economic and intellectual property.
After the United States imposed sanctions on China, now the European Union has followed suit, issuing sanctions Monday on 4 Chinese officials, including a top security director for alleged human rights abuses against Uyghurs in the Xinjiang province.
Rather than change its policies and address our legitimate concerns, China has again turned a blind eye, and these measures are regrettable and unacceptable.
The EU has avoided conflict with China, but now China is punching back.
There's no so-called genocide or forced labor or mass sterilization or other things. We call it the lies of the century.
What they have done is a slander.
China going viral Tuesday morning, saying the imposed sanctions will be, quote, useless and only reunite the Chinese people.
The European side cannot expect to talk about cooperation on the one hand and impose sanctions on the other hand to undermine China's interests. This does not make sense and will not work.
Despite the tit-for-tat games between China, the U.S., and the EU, China says it's not worried because it has strength in numbers, and the numbers are undeniable.
The population of the U.S., the United Kingdom, and Canada together account for only 5.7% of the world's population. And together with all of the people of the European Union, they account for about 11% of the world's total population, while China's population accounts for 1/5 of the world's total population.
China has now issued sanctions on the EU's main foreign policy decision-making body, known as the Political and Security Committee, and 2 other institutes, potentially jeopardizing an investment deal in which China and the EU negotiated back in December. That deal would have allowed European investors unprecedented access to the Chinese market, but now it's hanging by a thread. For RT, I'm Farron Franzak.